Welcome, everyone. Today's the second session of PERG's 4 year-end tech roundups. Today we're going to talk about cameras and camera accessories. And I'm Gary Adcock. I'm your host. I'm from Filmscape Chicago. But before I get started, I'd really like to have my good friend Anna Mayer, who's head of the PERG Council, talk to you about PERG and what we're doing here.
All right. Thanks. Well, on behalf of the Production Equipment Rental Group, I'm delighted to welcome everyone to the second session of PERG's Year in Technology Roundup, spotlighting cameras and camera accessories, as Gary mentioned. I want to first take this opportunity to thank our PERG annual sponsors, including ARRI, Camera One, Dynamic, IntelliVent, Panavision, and Taylor & Taylor & Associates. Today's event is also sponsored by all of the participating vendors. Thank you very much for helping us with this, including ARRI, Anton Bauer, Blockbattery, Crozio, Core SWX, First Mile Technologies, Preston Cinema Systems, Red Cameras, Riptime, Sony, and Creative Solutions, including Teardeck, Wooden Camera, and Small HD. We really appreciate these companies taking the time out of their days to present to us today. I also want to thank Filmscape Chicago and Gary Adcock for hosting the sessions and running the platform for the event. As most of you know, PERG is a trade group. It's part of ESTA that is for and by rental companies. Probably about 15% of the rental companies attending this event today are not members of PERG, and we want to encourage you to consider joining. PERG shines a light on the challenges and opportunities faced by professional rental companies. And if you would like to learn more, which we would love for you to if you are not a member, Harry's putting a link in the chat for you to check out. With that, I'll just say again, welcome, enjoy this time, and I'll turn it back over to Gary.
Thank you, Anna. A couple of things for everybody for housekeeping. The participants list is available to everybody. You can see who's on here. The chat pod is open. Ask questions, please. That's where all the information is going to be. When we break out for individual users to go to the individual rooms, you'll get a little pop-up and it'll tell you where to go. There'll be a description of that when it comes. We talk to most of the vendors, but everybody needs to know that there's breakout rooms listed in the bottom. No, you can't get there yet because we haven't opened them. But when we open them, you'll be able to access any of the vendors that are here at the show. And please reach out to them. Please make contact with them and connect with them because that's what this is all about. And to get started, I'm going to, ARRI's our first presenter for the day, and Chase Hagen's going to come on. He's a technical rep, and he's going to talk to us about the new Hi5 and some of the tools on it. Chase, are you there?
Yeah, I am. I'm all set. I'm ready to share my screen and go through some slides with everybody. Yeah.
Let's go for it, sir. You are on.
Great. It does say that the host has disabled the participant screen sharing on my side.
Oh, let's see. I mean, if I can get that. Share screen. There you go. You should be able to now.
Yay, I get to. That's awesome. Perfect.
That's the virtue of having multiple presenters here.
Right. And everybody can see my screen okay, I take it, right?
I don't see it.
Oh, let's take a look real quick. I had it on there. Let's see here. Where did it go? I had my screen sharing. Share screen. We're going to do this one here. There we go. Do you guys see it? Perfect. Awesome. We're a Teams company at ARRI, so Zoom is a little foreign to us. All righty. So again, my name is Chase Hagen. I'm one of the technical sales reps here at ARRI. I handle mostly the Western US, but I travel all over. And I'm going to give you an update on the Alexa Mini LF, as well as the Hi5. So for the Mini LF, we don't have too many updates as of recent. The last major update for the camera was software 7.1 that we released back in August of this year. For those of you who don't know, SUP 7.1 added a new recording mode that was highly requested by our customers. That's a one-to-one recording mode, so a square recording mode designed mainly for customers that wanted to use ×2 anamorphic lenses that would then de-squeeze to an aspect ratio of 2:1 for deliverables for streaming services like Netflix. There's some other features that we've added in SUP 7.1 and some bug fixes as well, but the primary feature set is that new recording mode. That's what the recording mode looks like on the Mini LF sensor. Again, primary use is going to be for ×2 anamorphic lenses for that 2:1 aspect ratio upon de-squeezing in the deliverable, but you can use it as a square recording mode should that be applicable to your project. It's available in uncompressed ARRI RAW, as well as all flavors of ProRes, up to 60 frames per second in the camera. And that diagonal there, if you're wondering, for image coverage is 33.6 millimeters. All master anamorphics that we make do cover that 2.8K LF 1:1 recording ratio from the 28 all the way up to the 180 millimeter master anamorphic. All right, let's talk about high five. So high five kind of got a great little catch line there: further, stronger, and faster. The high five is kind of the evolution of our wireless lens control system. It's not so much revolution, but really looking at everything that we can make better about what we had in our previous products, like the WCU4. So some people ask us where that high five comes from. These are the characteristics that our product management team came up with when designing the high five, and that's kind of how it got its very cool name. So high performance, high versatility, high speed, high tech, and high reliability. Those are all aspects that were core to the design of the high five. So as you can see with the high five, it is looks like a hand unit, kind of looks like the evolution of what you'd expect from the WCU4, but almost every piece of it is completely new, whether it's the screen, the new force pad, the new knob, the new friction adjustment. We took every bit of feedback, both physical and software, from the WCU4, from years and years of users using it, loving it, but having some improvements that they wanted to suggest, and implemented it here, whether it's the ability for it to stand up on its own without a mounting plate so you can set it down on a table, whether it's the smart ring interface, the friction adjustment that's faster and easier, and just improvements again with the whole tactile feel, like even things like the motion and movement of the slider to the weatherproofing. The most unique feature about the high five, though, is the interchangeable radio module system, and that was built into the unit from the design. So we have the RF EMEP, or this traditional ARRI white radio, available as a radio module. We also have two upcoming radio modules, the RF 2400, as well as the RF 900 module. So those are frequency hopping radio modules rather than direct connection. And those will be available, the 2400 at the end of this year and the 900 early next year. And again, they're interchangeable. So when you get your high five and you want to pop that out, it's just one push and you can swap that module very, very easily. When it comes to compatibility, the EMEP, or the traditional ARRI white radio that the unit's currently shipping with, is compatible with all existing white radio generation ARRI cameras, from even as old as an Alexa Classic to a modern Alexa LF and Mini LF. And it's the same radio technology we were using in the WCU and SXU. Of course, it's also compatible with the C-Force RF motor that we released a few years ago, as well as our current generation of white radio motor controllers with that wide variety you see there. So there it is right there with the EMEP radio connected directly to the Alexa Mini LF. There's no additional hardware or boxes necessary. Again, it's that same white radio direct connection that you're used to with, Alexa Mini LF, and the WCU4. That's just the standard ARRI white radio. That's a direct spectrum with the 14 channels available. The next question ultimately comes, well, you said there's a lot of different radio modules available. How am I going to be able to get those onto my cameras if all the existing ARRI cameras only have the white radio built in? And we've designed a little unit for that. It's a very small, compact motor controller / radio interface adapter. So it actually, kind of serves two purposes. You can use it as an adapter just to take your radio and be able to use those other radios, but you could also use it to drive the motors themselves, even on a non-ARRI camera. So it's got a little module in the back that you drop in, those same exact radio modules that go in the high five. They're compatible on both sides, are the same. You've got a little display for displaying information like what channel you're on, what module's installed. You've got a control wheel, a USB-C port for updates and power. You've got a CAM port, which is the same kind of CAM connector that we have with our RF motor. So you can reuse those existing cables you have with your RF motor. You have a serial 4-pin port for devices like, for example, the Cine Tape, a UDM, a Cine RT system. And you have two L-bus ports on it as well for connecting to motors and power, for example. This will be available in Q4. This is an example of what you need with the RIA 1. So you can see it connects directly to the Alexa Mini LF with an EXT cable. That same cable you can reuse from your RF motor. You get power through the L-bus, but you can also power the chain so that all the motors get enough power through the camera port, and you can connect devices via the serial interface with any kind of radio module you want. Any of the 3 radio modules are supported with the RIA 1. That's a new bracket that we're coming up with it so that you can get it nice and slim and compact mounted onto the camera. Again, the reel was designed around the idea that it should be as small and compact as possible, so it doesn't add any excess bulk or weight to the side of the camera. And that nice little bracket will make it easy to integrate onto cameras like the Mini and the Mini LF with one screw and no tools necessary. So for accessories with a high five, we've got new smart focus rings, some new batteries, as well as a new monitor bracket and some accessories in terms of straps, as well as a Panzer glass screen protector for the display. It's now a touchscreen. We have smart focus rings across 10 different kinds of rings. So both imperial and metric are available. They're automatically detected by the high five. When you insert the rings into the actual unit, you're good to go. Then you can see here, these batteries are available from ARRI with a chip inside that allow you to automatically recognize the exact percentage of the battery. So you can use non-ARRI batteries. You'll get the old battery indicator. This version allows for an exact percentage to be displayed, which is really nice, so that you can tell all the way down to when the battery's dead. That was a piece of feedback from users, and has a 20-second hot swap capability. You've got a monitor bracket that's easy to slide on. It's much more utilitarian in terms of its adjustment. You don't need a tool. And you've also got a bunch of mounting points on the top of the high five. You've got ports on the back for interfacing with a serial connection for, again, like a Fomatechnic crane or arm and Russian head. You can actually also connect with hardwire via the L-bus port on it. So you can hardwire to a motor controller or motor directly. You've got an app available on the App Store that you can download lens files, software updates, anything over Bluetooth. So you can download on that for iOS, update your lens files, store them in the cloud, do just about anything with them. It's got USB-C for power and external power supplies. You've got a new display that's even brighter, higher resolution, as well as a touchscreen. You have available licenses that'll be coming soon for the unit. Those licenses will include, now the unit out of the box will include the Alexa remote license, but there's optional Red camera control license that'll become available in Q4 with software 2, as well as a Sony camera control license as well for the Venice. Those licenses will be available again with software update 2 in Q4. And next year, we'll also have a Cinefade Variant D license. With the Focus Bug license, you'll be able to actually control all the settings of the Focus Bug system from the high five. You won't need to use their independent little controller. So if you want to have access to be able to change the field of view, the settings, the sensitivity, you can actually buy that license and control it from the high five. Otherwise, you'll have just the Focus Bug data displayed on the unit like you would with our UDM or CineTape. You don't have to have the license just to get the display, and they'll be available for an additional cost.
Chase,
yes, and that's
you're
it.
overtime, my friend. I'm gonna. Here's a friendly hook.
And that was it for me. I was gonna say I was trying to keep us moving, and that's the
you ran quite long for us, but I'll let you go because I don't want to be rude to anybody. But
no worries.
And the next one is going to be Anton Bauer. Ted, are you there? And Ted Doubov from Anton Bauer who's a technical sales manager. He's going to talk us around the new philosophy around their 26-volt ecosystem. Are you there, Ted?
I am, Gary. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, my friend.
Yes, sir. It's wonderful to be here and meet you all. If we haven't met already, I'm sure some of you I have. Let me jump right in here. Do my presentation for you. And as you said, Gary, I am going to talk about our 26-volt ecosystem here at Anton Bauer. And so if you haven't seen any of these products yet, the battery portion of what they are is a native 26-volt, 12-amp rated battery. They're capable of delivering 300 watts of continuous power with no drop in current. And they come in 2 watt-hour configurations, a 98 and a 240. As far as physical dimensions, the reference that I like to use, I'm sure you'll be familiar with these, the Dionic XT90, that's about the size of the 26-volt 98. And then if you've seen a Titan 240 battery from us, that is comparable to the 240 and the 26-volt as well. And they come in at 2 and 3 pounds respectively. One thing that I really like about them is that these batteries maintain the gold mount positive locking mechanism by using what's called gold mount plus. And how that's different is that there's a bit of mechanical interference in the form of an extended hood over the contact terminals. So basically it's just a little bit bigger at the very top portion where you mount it. And what this does, the reason for that is that it prevents accidental hookup to lower operating voltage equipment like a 14-volt equipment, and prevents you from damaging expensive gear. cameras or lights. And so another part of this is that these batteries are field upgradable. The process is really simple. You just put the 26-volt charger into an update mode and attach the batteries. The LED lights on the charger will indicate the status of the update, and the whole process is just a few minutes. We've got documentation for that on the product page on the website. And then, of course, the smaller capacity batteries, air travel certified, and we've tested all of our lineup in really rigorous shooting conditions from -4 degrees Fahrenheit all the way to 140. And hopefully you won't find yourself anywhere near that temperature. And as far as the charger, so I know a lot of the folks here are probably using the industry standard LP4 14-volt charger from Anton Bauer. The good news is that the 26-volt charger is both multi-voltage and multi-chemistry compatible, which is really cool because you won't have to get a different charger to charge your 14-volt or 26-volt battery. Probably a huge space saver for you. And then another important point is that the 26-volt batteries have a rapid charge. It's about 1 hour and 20 minutes for the smaller capacity battery and a little over 3 hours for the higher capacity battery. Again, field upgradable. So firmware on chargers used to be pretty difficult. You'd have to send it into service or buy a revision chip or get a revision chip and install it, and it would take space on your service desk. No more. So it's a USB, a mini USB or a standard USB on the back of the device, connected to the computer and download the firmware from our website, and it'll take care of itself, which is awesome, much easier than it's been. And the discharger, little orange item there at the top left that we have, is available for those of you who need to discharge quickly prior to shipping batteries via air. All right, so I wanted to include this bit of information. This is a graph from our Maycore room. It's a testing facility we use when testing cells or comparing competitive products. And I wanted to include it because there's a couple of important things to note about why it's really great to have a 26-volt solution natively rather than a dual voltage battery. And this is a graph from that facility that explains why. What happens when using a dual voltage option that'll do 14 or 28 is that you have to upconvert the 14-volt output to a 28-volt output, and that comes at a cost. So as the graph illustrates, you can see on the y-axis, you've got your watt-hour capacity, and on the x-axis, you've got your cycle count.
Okay, I'm
Hey, oh, thanks. And essentially,
Ted, you're muted.
thanks. I think somebody may have hit the mute all button there. I appreciate you getting me there. All right, so getting back into it. This graph demonstrates what happens when a dual voltage battery, a 14-volt that will also do 28, has to upconvert to 28. The 90 watt-hour capacity is going to get cut in half to 45. The cycle count, which essentially represents the longevity of the battery, is down around 900 cycles. And so it really kind of cuts the value of the investment. So just kind of a point about why the 26 volt is great to have natively. Okay. And that doesn't mean that you can't use the 26 volt batteries that we offer as a 14 volt battery, because we have all of these accessories here. If you look at the slightly left-hand side of the bottom row, we have converters. So you can just strap a plate on and get a 14 volt gold mount or a V mount as well. And then on the right side, we've got, if you have lights that you need to power, we've got a runtime chart there. You can do really power hungry lights like an S60 or Gemini 2x1. And depending on, what intensity you use it at, you can get up to 5 hours or maybe even slightly more on like the 1x1. All right, and so I think that about wraps up my time. I'd love to speak with y'all in the breakout room if you'd like afterwards, and it was very nice to meet y'all and chat. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, next up is Cody Mendoza, specialist and sales specialist and marketing specialist from Blockbattery. As Cody highlights the advantages in new technology that the new HCL 1600 Pro Blockbattery is going to have for us.
Yes, and my internet just went down, so I'm on hotspot. Am I good now?
Yeah, you're actually great, man. So we're all having a problem today, so we'll just live with it.
All right. Yeah. So sorry about that. Yeah. Thanks for having me. My name's Cody. I'm the sales rep here at Blockbattery. And so we had a couple new items that we released this year. But before getting into that, I just kind of wanted to quickly touch. In 2018, we released our cartridge design block battery systems. So as you can see in front of me here, we have cartridges. So in our best-selling SLI D600, it uses a 56 watt-hour cartridge, and there's 10 of them in there. And so the reason for going cartridge solution is that it helps with shipping. As you all know, there's a lot of problems with shipping lithium. And so if you were an end user and you had a battery of your own and you wanted to pull your cartridges out to travel, each of these are under the 100 watt capacity. So you just pop them out, you can carry them on. Or if you put them in a box, you can ship them cargo, just put a UN 3481 label on them, and it makes shipping lithium that much easier, while at the same time you have a full standard size block battery. We also have that in our SLI 1000 version, and the cartridges are 97 watt hours each, still allowing you to ship no problem. We use a lithium iron phosphate. It's a little bit more dense, but it's a safer chemistry. And so we just want to make sure that everything that we produce is going to be safe for everyone out there. And so in 2018, we released our cartridge designed block batteries. These are mainly used for cameras, but you can use them for LEDs, something that's drawing under 300 watts. And so we've been seeing this common trend with LEDs that there's a higher draw. And so we decided to come out this year with a bigger battery. So it's our HCL 1600, and it has 3 simultaneous outputs. There's a regulated 15 volt output and a regulated 48 volt output that can handle up to a 600 watt load safely. And then we have an R48 max if you want to pull anything over that 600 watt draw. And then we have 2 nominal outputs from 22 to 32 volts. So really you can power a camera, you can run it all day. If you want, you can run multiple lights, or you can run something like a sky panel for 4 hours. You can run Aperture 600D Pro with the R48 max, 48 volts full power for a couple hours. And so we're just starting to see a trend with LEDs that you're going to need a couple hours runtime. And if you want to be pulling 600 watts and above, you're going to have to go with a block style battery as opposed to a couple of gold mounts or V mounts. And so this was the new big block that we came out with just a couple months ago. It's really more kind of like a soft rollout. We're really going to start to kind of highlight it and market it in January next year. One thing else that we also did this year was we came out with a gold mount battery, just a 14 volt gold mount that has a OLED screen. So on the side of the screen, you can see the runtime remaining, battery percentage, the voltage drawn and the amps drawn, as well as 2 D taps on the front. And what's nice about these gold mount batteries is that you can pull theoretically up to 20 amps continuous out of these, but we safely recommend that you'll only pull around 15 amps continuous or less. So it's a higher capacity, higher draw gold mount battery that we released. In touching with our cartridge-based designs, we also have a balancing system. So if you're a rental house or if you're an end user that has multiple systems, every once in a while service comes up, right? And so instead of having to ship your battery back to the manufacturer, what you can actually do is you can go with one of our balancer accessories and you can pull the cartridges out in your own shop. You can plug them onto our balancer, and the balancer is going to make sure all the cartridges are equal, and it just makes shipping, and it just eliminates shipping really. And what it does is it just allows you to easily service your batteries from the shop, assuming you didn't actually damage any of the electronics in the battery. So that's one thing that's really nice and that we've seen a lot of end users and rental houses go with, just as an extra precaution of being safe, and so that way they don't have to worry about any type of shipping. That's all basically that I have. So if there's anyone that has specific questions about our blocks, whether what the pricing is, what the weight and the dimension, this one's actually 40 pounds, so you can see it's pretty heavy block battery here. Just kidding, there's no cartridges in this one, but yeah, most of these blocks are lithium, so they're going to be a little bit lighter weight than the nickel metal hydride chemistry, which we still offer. Nickel metal hydride is now our legacy category of block batteries, but we still have switchable voltage as well as dual voltage outs in 14 and 28 volts. So if you guys have any questions, I'd love to be able to continue the conversation in the breakout rooms.
Well, that's what it's there for. So thanks, Cody.
That's right.
Really appreciate that. You know, that's the great part about this, is that everybody gets a chance to share their stuff and then go jump into the breakout rooms and do this. Next up, You know, we got Crazil with Tim Steinman. He's going to talk about some of the new accessories they have for the Fx6 Fx9 and for the new drive assembly for the Fujinon Promista. Are you there, Tim?
Thanks, Gary. Yes, I'm here. So can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir. You look good, too.
Perfect. Thank you. So yes, for the Promista Servo Drive, we're going to do that next Thursday for the lens accessories. So today, we only want to show you some details about the latest camera accessories. So let me see if I can share my screen and take it from there. That looks good. So let's have a look at what we have developed lately. So one is our Chaos cable ties. It's a professional cable management, and it's basically like a bongo tie, but how it is differing is that it has threadings 3/8 and quarter below, where you can easily screw it into your top plate, side plate, or whatever you have. And this way, your cables don't hang loose. Additionally, so they are dedicated, positioned, and then they can be used as a strain relief by taking them 2 times around the cable, and this way you have a nice strain relief on your camera and can have it nicely tied up. Second thing is the latest development, our Magnum lens control system. So we focused on the Cinelog remote and robotic integration. This way you can use basically any remote or robotic head which is able to talk the Canon remote port. So we are simulating a Canon ENG lens port socket, and you simply attach to that cable and you're right away on and have full control of your Cine lenses. Additionally, we open up an API for custom solution. So whatever you want to develop, take our motor box, use our open API and program your robotic head, your automatic focus device, or whatever you have in plan, it's possible with that. Then our universal accessories. They are all anti-twist protected. And what you have here is a universal handle. You can easily put that on top of cages of cameras, wherever you have the ARRI anti-twist protection, you can use our handle. Secondly, the rod mounting bracket. This is a 50 mil rod bracket. You can mount it again wherever you want, and you have the anti-twist protection with that. And there's a rosettes. If you have rosette handles or whatever you want to mount there, battery or video recorders, all of them, you can easily mount to the rosettes, again with anti-twist protection. Then we were working on our shoulder support and cages. So what we have done lately was the Fx6 Fx9 Supports. They all inherit a new comfortable large shoulder pad. They have a quick lock functionality and tripod blade. So whatever shooting style you prefer, you have it built in. And we offer top blades with various mounting points and anti-twist protection. Additionally, we introduced the Fx6 Compact Rosette, which is able to take the Sony Smart Grip right onto that rosette for very small setups. You can use a handle as an extension, which has a rosette on the one side and the Sony Smart Grip. And when you take off your Smart Grip from the Sony Fx6 Fx9, there's a free spot, and this spot you can cover with our Fx6 Rosette. Then one of the most exciting tools is we developed a multi-extension cable for the Fx9. Those are in different lengths available. This, for example, is about 12 centimeters. And with that, what you do is you put that between the camera and the Fx9 handle. And this way, whatever problems you have, you do not destroy your camera, you just destroy the cable. So this way you have the chance of using that and have no downtime for the camera, especially interested for all rental companies. The same we're offering for the Fx6, but that's something, you know, some people just get it on Amazon, but I just want to inform you about that too. The C70, we made a very nice cage around it. It's one single unit, like one block of perfect aluminum. You have the various mounting points, and then it locks into the shoulder support. To show you what I mean about that is you see here the shoulder support, and it's perfectly fitted together with the C70 cage. Then we have a FreeFly Wave cage. The FreeFly Wave is a high-speed camera from FreeFly for their gimbals and drones. And what we have done is, again, one single unit perfectly fitted around the camera, has various mounting points, and this way you can nicely use that. And this is going to be released next week. Nobody knows about it yet, only you guys joining the PERG event. That's basically it, Gary. I tried my best to do it on time. I take that for see you in the breakout room. So please check out our breakout room lately. We have all those devices here, so we can really look in time and have enough time to look at them, or visit our website. And actually, I have to take that time real quick. Our contact details seem not to be in the PDF, so we will share them in the chat so that you can get in contact with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Really appreciate it. And next up, we have Core SWX with Joe Teodosio, who's the Chief Technical Officer. Are you out there, Joe? I know he's in there. I can see his face. So, Joe's going to talk about their new all-encompassing mobile power solution, the Maverick. It's a next generation. It's much like many others. It's a next generation block battery system. Joe, you have the stage, my friend. You're muted, though.
There we go.
There you are.
There I am. Okay. Thanks, Garrett. So thank you, everybody. We got the third battery company in there. You guys saved the prettiest guy for the last one. It's not really the prettiest guy, but let's go from there. So I spent 35 years in the industry, worked for Anton Bauer for about 30 years, jumped over to Core in about 2020. Everything that we learned from our VCLX battery on the Anton Bauer side, I took that information and into the new battery. What we did is we made everything inclusive. So your charger is built in, everything's built inside, all one case. It's watertight all the way up to about 7.5 inches. The handle's built in internally to the whole device, so it won't ever pull out. You can pull, the big thing on this whole thing is you can pull out of all 4 connectors at the same time, 20 amps on the 14-volt side, 20 amps on the 30-volt side. There are 2 P-taps and 1 USB. The screen that's on here is the same screen that's on all of our other batteries. So you got runtime there in hours and minutes. When you go to plug it in with a standard IEC cable, that's just a standard computer cable, the screen changes from runtime to charge time. So it's really well done that way. It is nickel metal hydride. There are the next generation nickel metal hydride cells that are in here. It's about 29 pounds. So you're a little heavier than most of the other blocks that are out there. But once everybody switches to the new nickel metal hydride cell, everything will be even. You'll see that there's LEDs on the handle here. When it's charging, it's red. When it's solid, when it's fully charged, it's green. So if you got 20 or 30 of these on set, you can just pick up the green one, go. The LED is not on when it's power is being pulled from it. It's only during charging. But if you don't want to see that, there is the option to shut that off. And that's really what I'm here to talk about. It does fit in legacy cases. So you don't no reason to change any cases, and you have the back space for cables and other accessories that you want to carry. We are shipping this now, so if anybody wants it, just you can contact me. But I'm going to go really quick here, just so we can catch up and give some other people some time. It's a standard block. It's a block battery like everybody else has in the industry. We added a few more features with everything being included. The charger is in a module form, so if anything ever happens to the charger 5-6 years from now, that can be pulled out and put in, and it's relatively inexpensive. You're less than $300 for the charger. And that's pretty much it. Gary, I'll see everybody in the chat room. I didn't want to take up the full 5 minutes. This way we can get everybody going.
Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it. And now we go to wireless technologies with Bahaa Zantout from First Mile. And First Mile is an interesting company because they're doing connectivity on the internet with high bandwidth connectivity on set. And it's going to be an interesting discussion as part of what we go forward. Bahaa, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Gary.
Alrighty.
I'll just share my screen. Give me a second here. All right, let me know if you all can see my screen.
All good, my friend.
All good? Amazing. All right, yeah, so I'm Bahaa Zantout. I'm the Business Development Manager at First Mile Technologies. Alongside with me is Peter Fairlie, who's the CTO. And we're here to talk about connectivity on set and creative connectivity solutions for the future. So who are we, first of all? We're a group of forward-thinking individuals. We've each worked, in different large and smaller companies and industries, but we have one belief that connectivity is really the utmost importance. And in this industry, it continues to grow and use data and monetize off of it. So with our insight and expertise, we've developed some tools and solutions and made some partnerships. And that's how we intend to change how video and data is gathered and moved within the film production landscape. So I'm going to go over kind of like the solutions and tools I just talked about. So really having reliable connectivity wherever you are, that's one of our key tools and solutions. Settling streaming, file transfers, basically making sure that your level of connectivity is commensurate with your level of production and meeting your budgets. So 4 key things: simple, robustness, reliable, and secure. So that's key. We just try to keep it along those 4 things. So about our connectivity solution, before I dive into the actual equipment, really we can provide you with a portable bandwidth anywhere you are. It's robust, secure, and we aggregate multiple networks at the same time to give you, whatever your production needs. And you can use this data for general connectivity, data transfer. So if you want to, send proxies over, resolution files, whatever it may be, or if you just want to set link stream, if you want a live video stream back to production and to decision makers and, have them review the feed. So our solution blends multiple connections at once. That's what makes it so different. It actually can blend 3G, 4G, 5G, wireless LAN, satellite as well, all at the same time. And it does something called smart blending technology and cost-based priority routing. So it'll actually it'll basically load balance and use whatever is most cost effective. So, it won't use if there's a satellite connection in cellular, it'll use cellular as much as it can before it goes to satellite. It'll fail over. It does all the load balancing and the failing over. So yeah, these are one of the 2 products that we have. So the rugged gateway, typically used in like a mobile setting, on a vehicle or something like that. It has the ability to aggregate 3 modems and cellular, LAN, and satellite. It's a smaller unit and it's fanless, quiet, so it's used in a more portable setting. Then if you want to go really big, you got the rack mount version, which lets you blend up to 6 carriers, as well as that, the satellite or LAN that you have. And it's all AES encrypted, high-speed connectivity, creates a hotspot for wherever you are on set, for the, to use with anything really. And one thing we want to mention is we've tested this with lots of different encoders. So Teodosio cubes, for example. We've also worked with SohoNet. They have their own connectivity solution. We worked with SohoNet to provide connectivity as well. And we'll just go talk about satellite for a bit. So we also have satellite packages. So we understand that cellular is not going to be everywhere. You're going to be in the middle of nowhere. You're going to be on top of a mountain in the middle of the desert. So we also have satellite solutions. We also are working with Starlink, SpaceX, and actually, we plan on releasing that and having that as an option. So selling streaming, I'll turn it over to Peter to kind of talk about that. So we also have a super low latency feed, ability to send like from a remote area over back to a set, to a production house, a low latency feed. I'll let Peter talk a bit about that.
Okay, thank you, Bahaa. Yeah, my name is Peter Fairlie. I'm the CTO at First Mile Technology. Sorry. One of the things we realized was, especially when COVID first hit was everybody wanted to be able to see their feed offset. There was plenty of different platforms that were doing that, but we found that none of them worked perfectly with every type of device. So what I did is I set out and I created First Mile Frame. First Mile Frame is a WebRTC platform that works basically with iOS, Android, PC, and Mac. Doesn't matter which platform you're on, it works through all of them. Basically, we use on set this device here from Dejero called an Ngo. It's a transmitter. It transmits a signal from set wirelessly through bonded up to 6 different LTE connections. This received at our data center, where we turn the signal around and we send it back out in First Mile Frame.
Yeah, I'll talk a bit about the Ngo. So, like Peter mentioned, similar to the gateway, which I talked about previously, that's a unit you can connect an SDI feed or HDMI from any camera and send a very low latency feed anywhere, to a remote location over cellular and satellite too. So it does have Ethernet ports. So it's a little workflow diagram here. We can talk about, if you guys want to join our breakout room after, we can dive deep into that and talk more about the encoders that we provide. We worked with some of the projects we worked with. And also I want to talk a bit about camera to cloud. So the Ngo, we're actually excited to announce that, and we've been testing, it is camera to cloud capable. So you're able to send proxies, proxy level clips with metadata, start, stop, time codes, time in, time out. So basically you have an ARRI camera connected, for example, we can start recording, and the recording will generate on that Ngo on the encoder and start sending it automatically to the remote location over cellular pretty rapidly. And then from there, you can send it over to, frame.io, which we've been testing with, and, different, all the different types of collaboration tools. We can do the handoff level. So it's just something I wanted to go over. But yeah, without taking up too much time, that's a little bit about what we do. And if you have any questions, feel free to join our breakout room. And yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think the wireless part of all of this is a new advancement for all of us. And what you guys are doing has been pretty revolutionary. It's one of the reasons why Brandon is joining us for the final panel next Thursday. Next up, Howard Preston Cinema Systems. As the president of Preston Cinema Systems, Howard's going to talk about their new hand units and some of the LR2 products, and it's going to be interesting to see what they have to talk about. So, Howard, you there?
I'm here.
Righty, sir.
Hi. You get our screen up?
Share screen.
Share screen.
Share screen. You cannot share screen while other participants are sharing.
You should be able to.
It says we're still viewing
First Mile
screen.
Yeah, First Mile's got to get out.
There. You should be able to now. I'll try.
We'll do share screen.
There you go.
You guys can see it? Okay.
I see your screen. You're
Perfect.
on, Howard.
Okay, terrific. I'm here with Alana Berkson, our sales manager. And I'm going to talk about our new, relatively new Hand Unit 4 and talk about some brand new software that's going to be released in the coming days. So the title says a lot about what our focus is, precision focus for shallow depth of field. So everybody with large sensor cameras and high resolution lenses have an interest in this, I think. Oops, let's get this on. So first thing you see is a big display. And what I can say about this is our control is very much display centric in that both the user interface as well as the information is on this display. It's touch enabled. So as a result of a lot of feedback from our users, We made the text as big as possible. And the other thing you can say about this is it's much faster to use touch than it is using keys as our prior generation. Probably to calibrate a lens is like 2 or 3 times faster. And the same is true of accessing all the other menus. So we'll talk about some of the new features that are accessible through the menus. So the electronic scales that you see for focus, iris, and zoom are dynamic. And what I mean by that is we rescale them according to accessories. So the new feature that we're going to be releasing rescales the focus scale when you put a diopter on the lens. The other thing we do is rescale the t-stop and focal length if you use an extender or expander. So what that looks like, we can do shortcuts. So there's 2 you can see that are circled here. One is for the lens. It shows the current lens that's on the control. And there's another shortcut below, which is brand new, and that's something called lens function, and we'll look at that. So if you do the top one and click on the lens, what you'll see is the folder from which the lens was taken. So if you're on the set and you're exchanging lenses, you can just quickly go back to the folder without having to go through the full menu. And if you go back and click on the lens, touch the lens function, you'll get this. So this screen shows the new lens function set we're introducing. So as you can see, the top one is diopter, extenders next, dolly zoom, constant speed zoom, and we'll just go through some of them. Diopter lens function, as I said, you could rescale the focus scale just by selecting a diopter power from the list. If there's a very simple calibration for the diopters, and once you do it, they're stored along with the lens and diopters. So this is an enormous time saver, because if you're familiar with what happens on set, the assistant has to actually manually construct a lens ring just for the diopter. So this totally overcomes that. The other thing it does, which is even more spectacular, is you could use the light ranger, because now the lenses are mapped. So here's an example. The first shot, and I'll do it again, was without light ranger. So you'll see that she's now in focus, but as she moves forward without the light ranger, you'll get an idea of the shallow depth of field. And then the light ranger clicks in right there, and you can see it's pulling focus for you. Dolly zoom is next. So dolly zoom is an effect where you keep the size of the subject constant as the camera moves, or the subject to camera distance moves. This also was a really time-consuming problem on set, and a lot of people had multiple takes and a lot of distress. And now it's as simple as a one-button solution. If you touch the set size, the software captures the scale and it keeps it constant. And we'll see what that looks like. So that's a lot of, oops, we can actually go back again and just take a quick look, because it happened pretty quickly. So it's that simple. It just took what used to be an hour-long process and turned it into a 30-second process. The extender, we don't have to go into it. You just enter the extender power. It can also be an expander. So you can go from powers of 0.5 to 2.0. And you do it instantly, calculates the new t-stop and focal length. Constant zoom function is pretty much what it says. You can program a constant zoom. There's a red knob on the handle. You set the zoom speed. Here it says 37. And you can trigger the zoom by just pressing on the joystick with either a momentary press or a continuous press per your preference. Okay, the touch display allows the focus scale to be stretched or squeezed. So if you want more resolution, you're doing a real close-up, you can just expand it. And if you don't need that, you can go extremely compressed like we've just seen. And the display is super fast. And this is just an idea, there's no lag. So this was a big priority for us, because what good is it if you're trying to pull focus from a scale and it's lagging a fraction of a second behind. Okay. The T-stop and zoom scales are, of course, very large on this, and that was another important priority for us in developing it. These, we think, are going to be primary means of looking at the settings, so you really want them to be easily read. Another feature is, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, these are dynamic displays, so if you have T-stops on a nonlinear vintage lens, it maps them automatically to this linear display. So that makes setting it much more precise. And the same settings are also available on the video overlay that you would use with the Light Ranger. So let's talk about the Light Ranger 2. The Hand Unit 4 is tightly integrated with the Light Ranger 2. The idea was we want to make it as easy and as intuitive as possible to use the two of them together, because together they're a really powerful tool. What we find is that most focus pullers, 95% of the time, are using manual focus. And in order to do that and achieve shallow depth of field, you really do have to have centimeter level control. So together with the Light Ranger, you can achieve that. So here's an example of, this is me pulling focus between Letitia on the left and Alana on the right. Okay, you see, we'll do it again. You can see the 16 rectangles across the frame, and those are all independent focus zones. So what we do is we start on Letitia. You can see the green rectangle says she's in the depth of field. I'm pulling the focus manually, and then when I reach Alana, it actually locks into autofocus, and this is called a hybrid mode. So this may be new to you, so we'll be in the breakout room if you guys have questions about that. So this is just to compare the Hand Unit 3, which came out many years before the Light Ranger 2, and just to give you an idea of why some of these changes were made. You can see that we had to kind of have an ad hoc solution to controlling the Light Ranger. So we had to put, the manual autofocus switch is like a key in the middle of this thing, and the autofocus and navigation keys were on the right. You can see that silver button. So that required moving your hand if you wanted to change modes or move the autofocus zone. So in the new Hand Unit 4, you can see this has all been integrated onto the grip. So without moving your hand, you can move the focus zone with the red joystick. You can make it bigger or smaller. You can go from autofocus to manual. You can autofocus freeze. You can change the joystick sensitivity, all without moving your hand or just moving your fingers. So this is a big ergonomic improvement. So in conclusion, Hand Unit 4 gives the focus puller the ability to look at the scene. He's looking at the monitor now. So now, without taking his hand off the grip, he can pull focus according to the choreography of the drama. Now he can do that with the accuracy provided by the Light Ranger 2. And when required, autofocus is available just by touching a button. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. So before we go on, I want to, before we bring on the people at Red, and I think James is here. I haven't seen him. I know Heather's here, but I didn't see James anywhere. I want to talk about polls for a second. So at the bottom of your screen, I'm going to launch a poll for everybody, and it's just some simple questions. And it's like, what's your role in the industry? And, it's, are you with a rental company? Are you a non-related rental company, not PERG affiliated? Are you a member of a production crew? Are you a manufacturer, vendor, or are you other? And the second question is, how did you hear about today's event? It's interesting because we're trying to figure out how well our marketing worked and how well our mailing list worked. So when you get a chance, I'm going to launch the poll, and I'd like for everybody to fill it out. We'd like to get about 95%, which is about 70 people or so here to do this. But I launched the poll, and you guys can fill it out at the bottom of the screen. There's actually a little thing at the bottom of your screen in the center that says polls that you can click on it, and it will allow you to type things in. It's only 2 simple questions. Are my friends from Red here? James, are you here? I don't see you.
Yeah, actually, Gary,
it's just going to be you then.
No,
Hello,
no, I always travel in pairs. Hi, everybody. I see a lot of friendly names and faces. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Heather Williams with Red. I am the rental house liaison for the company. And I would like to introduce my colleague, Johnny, who is going to be talking about V-Raptor, our latest announcement. And Johnny is a product manager, and he's coming to us all the way from the UK. So thank you, Johnny, for hanging around in your evening to talk to us. But I'm going to turn the time over to Johnny now. So, hi, Johnny.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. So obviously with any kind of new camera launch, just showing my screen there, there's quite a lot to go over. So I'll try and keep it brief, and then we can break out into those breakout rooms to discuss anything else. Just a quick intro on myself. Worked in the film industry for around 6 years as a DIT, and eventually transitioned over to Red, now working in the product management kind of position. So new camera, there's quite a lot to cover. Where to start really? And I think for a lot of people, that's always the sensor. We've got a brand new 8K VV size sensor, same pixel dimensions and size as Monstro, but it's a whole new sensor from the ground up. That's something that's been a little bit of a misconception at the moment. We've got things like the brand new PDAF pixels that are built right in, and we've got the lowest noise floor of any Red camera out there at the moment. So a lot of people working in low light are going to see some big benefits there. One of the next really big improvements is the high-speed nature. So we've been able to effectively double the sensor readout time compared to Monstro. So where that was 8K 60 FPS, this is now 8K 120 FPS. 2K 600, and there's a whole big list of some of the crazy frame rates we're able to reach that we can break down a little bit later in the breakout rooms. One of the things we're also focusing on is the new multi-format modes, making it really easy to go into S35 glass or S16 glass, depending on what you want to do, and not restricting your creative or technical choices with lenses. We're still using the same R3D IPP2 workflow, so any production will be right at home with this workflow. Bring it straight in, and we've actually simplified down the compression ratios.
Oh, really quick, Johnny, can you go back to the previous slide real quick? For those of you who didn't know, PDAF stands for phase detection autofocus. So keep going.
Thank you, Heather. So moving over.
Go ahead, sorry.
Moving over to the actual body itself, moved away from the modular system that you'll be familiar with, DSMC2, basically fully integrated everything into one body, which has allowed us to really keep the form factor down. It's actually around, it's smaller height-wise compared to DSMC2, although it's the same kind of rough length as DSMC2, but everything's integrated. We've got everything from the locking RF mount, the built-in I/O, we've got assistant interfaces now, built-in micro V mount plate. Some of the other kind of key standout changes here are the move over to the high-speed media. We're using CF Express Type B cards, which allow us to achieve these really high frame rates. We've also improved the cooling, which if we've got time, I will touch on in a moment. Obviously, the I/O is a big thing here as well, having dual 12G SDI outputs. We've got 5-pin LEMO input for XLR functionality, streaming functionality, USB-C outputs, allowing users to configure the camera however they want it. Just to give a bit of a size comparison here really quickly, you can kind of see what I meant where it's shorter than DSMC2. When you add some of the modules on, it's about the same length. A lot of people have been thinking of it as kind of a bigger Komodo, and although it may share a similar design philosophy, it is really a replacement to our kind of Monstro sensor and our DSMC2 bodies. We will be touching on the XL at some point. That's something that I think a lot of you guys will be interested in, the fully fledged kind of studio style camera. So we can go into the breakout rooms and discuss that if you guys are interested. I'll just touch on some of those points really, really quickly that I broke out. We've chosen the RF mount, but we've changed it to a locking RF mount, allowing you to secure down your PL mounts, your LPL mounts, your M mounts, as that was a bit of feedback we learned from Komodo. The CF Express Type B media, allowing us to not only write really quickly to it, but also be able to download very, very quickly. As a DIT myself, that was something that I always wanted, quicker downloads. So around 7 minutes for a 660 gig card, which is really, really nice for those guys wanting to dump footage really, really quickly. The I/O connectivity, two 12G SDI 4K output ports. We've got that 5-pin XLR breakout, which can do phantom power as well. We've got our 9-pin extension port for all of those Pro I/O connections, timecode, genlock, run stop, and our typical kind of red control. We've got the antenna for the wireless video and control, and we've got the new Pogo connections, which house and can power the new monitor as well. The assistant interface.
Really quick, Johnny, can you just go back to that previous slide?
Go ahead.
So just a note, I know that all the rental houses tend to be predominantly gold mount. So as you can see, this is an integrated V mount connection, and it does use micro V batteries. But we will have an adapter available later in the year that will either adapt the micro V to full-size V-Lock or full-size gold mount batteries. So there is an adapter coming if that question was on your mind. Thanks.
I want to keep this quick, so we've got a few minutes left. Assistant interface. So this is going to allow ACs to come in, operate the camera, assign their own presets, and basically it was designed to keep you out of the menus, get everything you done as quickly as possible, get in there, change that setting, customize it how you want, so you can get in and make that change that the DP or the crew needs for the camera. So we discussed the micro V-Lock plate was put in there to keep the camera as small as possible, but we are going to have a range of accessories coming very, very soon that's going to allow you to break out to any kind of battery solution that you want and do some cool power outputs, which we can discuss in the breakout room. And the final thing here, just discussing heat management, as that's something we've had a lot of feedback from in relation to DSMC2. We've got what's called a thermoelectric cooler, or a Peltier, which is going to be cooling and heating the sensor, and it's very, very efficient at actually maintaining that sensor temperature. For those of you familiar with black shading, where typically you had a 15-degree window up or down before you needed to re-black shade, now you've got a really wide 0 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius kind of range, meaning that you basically have to black shade once, and you're off to the races from there. And that's how they're discussed, obviously discussing the creative solutions accessories. We've got partnerships with Small HD, Core, partner in here, and Angelbird working on the cards. So we've really opened our arms and working with a lot of really amazing partners to develop a really thorough ecosystem for this camera. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and obviously hopefully there's more to discuss in the breakout rooms as any new camera launch. There's quite a lot to discuss.
Thank you, Johnny, and thank you, Heather. Really, really appreciate it. So there's a lot going on here. Before we go to the next one, I want to just remind everybody there's still a few people that haven't voted in the poll. I'd like to get like 5 or 6 more people here to do this. I'm close, but I'm not fully done yet. Please answer the poll. And then while we're doing that, let's head on to Peter Rosenfeld from Riptime. As the manager of sales and marketing, he's going to talk about the RFID-enabled cable wraps, which is something I find kind of interesting. And are you there, Peter?
Yeah, here I am. Can everybody hear me okay?
Oh, you're looking good, sir. Excellent.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for having us here. We appreciate the opportunity to speak to this group. I'm actually going to speak about 2 of our other products too, really quick, just to make sure people know about them, because I think they'll be useful for this group of people. The first one is this, which is called Rip Wrap. It's a very low-cost, light-duty hook and loop tape. And I'm sorry, by the way, we don't have a PowerPoint presentation to share. Just going to do this as a live demo because we're hands-on people here. So this is a low-cost, light-duty hook and loop tape. We're pushing it as a replacement for gaffer tape. The value to you is 2 things. One is it's going to save you a lot of labor cleaning adhesive residue off of cables. Any strapping application where you would have used gaffer tape, like on a microphone stand or a lighting truss, you can now use this 20 to 25 times. The second value is really means you're going to be throwing away 20 to 25 times less gaffer tape. And I think we all need to be more sensitive about environmental impact. Comes in 7 colors, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 2 inch sizes. The other one we want to talk about specifically as it relates to cameras and camera accessories is for small cable bundles around the camera. This is a product called the Riptime Mini. It's available in a 3.5 inch size and a 5.5 inch size. it's got this slot in the head to attach it onto the cable. And then all of these little small cable bundles, and particularly digital signal processing cables that we're all dealing with, can now be wrapped up with these reusable ties instead of tape or nylon ties or whatever people have been using. And available only in black and white right now. Now I'm going to jump over to the cable wraps. We've kind of been the standard in cable management in this industry for more than 35 years now. We have this new patent called the Rip Lock. I'm not sure how visible it is here, but basically it makes attaching the rip tie onto a cable much quicker and simpler. You just take the pull tab, push it through the opening in the rip lock, and then pull it tight. That means you can now have this kind of neatness and organization for all of your setting up and breaking down. So how could we improve that? Along with our partner, I should give him a plug here, Bob Lynn of UTC, who some of you may know, who's the real technical expert about the RFID side of things. We're now embedding an RFID chip into the cable wrap. And we have a barcode, which can be scanned if you have a barcode system. And there's a human readable 9-digit number. I hope this is visible for all of you. This 9-digit number is the last 9 digits of the 24-digit EPC code that is encoded onto the chip. We've got our system set up. If you elect to participate in this program to bring these in and make the investment, we will set aside numbers for you that'll be unique to you. Or we can encode it with your own system if you already have your own in-house numbering system, because I know a lot of the rental softwares now have an RFID space in them, and you may well be using RFID chips to track some of your other assets. The value of this is that now you can lock a unique 24-digit EPC code onto your cable assets as well. I'd like to do just a real quick, simple demo. There's quite a few things you can do with this technology. And RFID is not new, by the way. It's been around since World War II, but it's really finding a lot of applications these days. So I'm just going to turn my laptop so you can see this little pile of cables I have here. Hope that's visible for everybody. There's 5 cables here. So you would have one of these zebra readers. You just wave it around there, and sure, there's 5 numbers. I hope that's visible on screen there. I can't really see it too well. So that's one way where you can check cables going in, cables going out. You've got inventory pages for all of these assets now. And you can, out in the field, for instance, these readers will be enabled with an iPhone that'll feed up to the cloud. You can open up your inventory page and enter a message like, reroute this to the service department, check the connectors, and when it gets checked back into your warehouse, that message will pop up in your software. Another cool feature that I want to show you is I'm going to pick one of these numbers here, 1042. I hope that's reasonably visible. Go to the locate tag feature in the menu so that if you're missing a cable that's part of a kit, you can now call this number up into your reader, and then we're just going to search around here. I'm pulling the trigger on the reader. Read. Here we are. What am I getting? Sorry, I practiced this about 15 times, and it always works. There we are. Here we are. So I'm searching around the warehouse. Can you hear the Geiger counter sound? And there's that cable, that asset that I'm looking for. If there was a better visuals, I'd pull that cable out and show you how the numbers match. So that's just one or two of the things you can do with this. Of course, you can get this with a custom logo tab too, if you want that. A lot of you already have those. So it's very easy to integrate in this whole new system. Thank you.
Excellent. That's a real interesting idea. I can see you running into the camera truck now with the sensor just to find all the extra, LEMO cables that got left behind that, cost us $80 a piece in the rental community. I'm going to close out the poll. Yeah, I'm going to close out the poll now. And the poll's kind of interesting for everybody. 31% of you are from the rental houses, which I thought was kind of low, actually. Only 31% of the people were with a PERG-associated rental facility. We have to do better. We need to be better at that. A whole bunch of production crew, though, but that's always a good thing to have because, the production crews are the lifeblood of the rental industry and important to have them here. The other thing is how many people saw this? I mean, the email information from PERG that more than 50% of you saw this as a PERG email or a PERG announcement. I think that was great. Another 10% of you saw it in some kind of social media from participating vendors, and I think that's pretty good. It just shows you how much this community is all involved and how much we actually do pay attention to each other. So it's a great thing. Next up, Paul Healy from Sony is going to talk about the next generation of cinema multi-camera events and live capture. I know Sony's got some real interesting stuff coming next week, and it's going to be interesting to see what goes on. So, Paul, you there?
I am, Gary. Thank you.
Excellent,
let me start sharing my screen.
I see your screen. Hey, you are good, sir.
Great. Let me switch over here on my side. Great, thank you. Well, we're going to do a little bit of a shift here where we'll be talking about more of trends and perhaps your future investments and how they kind of can be supported. Here we have a subject of really beyond traditional use of large sensors. We've seen a fantastic adoption of the Venice camera and full frame, and we're going to review where it is used beyond. So let's go into that. Here we have a listing of projects that use full frame Venice camera in a traditional cinematic way, whether it's feature, episodic, dramatic. This is really camera department acquiring the project to a single camera. The language is spoken in what we all know, ISO, f-stops, and other terms in a cinematic way. Whereas we have our traditional studio systems where we have video engineers or shaders versus the language of DITs, directors, and DPs have two different responsibility for look decisions. We even have 709 video versus RAW and log. All these things are obviously showing there's a very different cultural thing behind these two technologies. Now, since 2014, we've had products that basically leap the line between broadcast and cinema. For example, we took 4K into studio systems where it was traditionally used for cinematic acquisition as a 4K format. And you could see that it's not a first that we've taken cinematic cameras and placed them into studio systems with some level of compromise, but a lot of creativity offered. So our latest offering is a studio configuration using the Silverback from Multidyne. This is a encoder that allows all of the crucial connections into a single fiber cable. So this is a robust system that we really decided to work with third parties for this system, and it allows in-camera recording of 6K RAW as well as 4K monitoring and recording externally. Generally speaking, let me hopefully advance slide here. Oops, sorry about that. Generally, I want to give you a very basic description configuration, but from camera to monitoring, we basically have primary output via 4K resolution, and then we'll have all the interconnects listed here, as well as web browser remote control, RCP remotes, And really, we could both see what the viewfinder sees as well as the program feed. So that's just a general description, a base processing unit, our camera system, the silver backpack, and a fiber connectivity. Now, this system has already been used with top networks, live to tape performances, and you could get an idea of what type of style productions, but Broadway performances, comedies, and a number of things. What we're talking about today, though, is really expansion into new areas, expansion into network studio environments. We recently had an environment where The Daily Show became one of the first recorded TV shows that now record with full frame cameras, the Venice camera, using fiber backs, and distribute the show with this aesthetic that we could see here on the right. So that's a real first for broadcasters. Now, live events, the aesthetics of the live game have certainly changed since February's big game last year. You could see here that there's images including side-by-side with broadcast camera and the controls related as the tech operates the Venice RCP right alongside our HDC camera systems. Nearly every network every sports organization is basically looking at this for a different aesthetic. And we've recently had some tests with Fujinon at the Diamondbacks game where we got these beautiful shots that went to air. Now, again, I just want to cite that this is a bit of a case study, and just as you see this very quickly on the screen, no other camera can support 12G SDI over 60p as the Venice did. I hope we have other manufacturers on the line. If that tech manager was false about that statement, we'll clarify that in our breakouts for sure. But why are people moving to this? They're moving to it really because they could record S-Log and RAW as well as their 709 image, that the dynamic range with the lighting conditions that they're going to be in is capable of getting that capture, that the full frame cameras meet the color space that networks and OTTs basically want to capture, and that we get the quick action without motion blur errors. So we saw Tim's product earlier with his Croziel motors, and here's an image where we really give an example as to the flexibility of mounts, whether we want to be wide, long, or even B4 size lenses. So we could use your existing inventory, or perhaps give the controls that a broadcaster versus a cinema person may want. So we have about 3 more slides, and I'm hoping that I still have you guys here. So the language used also changes when we do this. So this is not just a back, this is also us changing the language of our Venice camera into certain things that would be recognizable in a broadcast environment, such as gamma curves instead of LUTs, dBs instead of ISO, and all of this gets controlled via remote control panels, which once again are very familiar to those groups. Now, since I have been focusing on the Venice for this conversation, I do want to share that not all budgets will justify our highest level of full frame camera in our lineup. We have enhanced the Fx9 with upcoming version 3 firmware, which will allow RCP control and 2/3 inch along with a number of other features. So we're going to get your inventory working that you have. We're going to keep enhancing it, and we're going to give you all the features that you've come to love if you've already used the Venice, including dynamic range and sensitivity, all the way through to the Fx9. So some really exciting stuff. And if you're interested in finding out more independently, you could always reach out to one of our social channels or through my contact info there. That is the last slide. Gary, how did I do on time? Thank you all.
Everybody's been really great today. We've only had a couple that really slide a lot. And, it's always good to have everybody work together to try and keep the time down so we're not, So the last guy that speaks actually has enough time to do his presentation. Next up is Teradek. Dave, are you about ready there? So, and I've got Dave Bradbury and Colin coming in to talk about 2 completely different parts about it. So Dave's going to cover the small HD Cine 13, and Colin's going to cover about the new Bolt 4K. So you guys are up.
Okay. I'll start off with the small HD side. You guys can see my screen, hopefully.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to focus today on a brand new monitor that we just released recently that's really been popular so far. The main thing we wanted to talk about with this product is the sharpness. So Steve Jobs was quoted saying the number of pixels needed for a retina display is about 300 ppi for a device held 10 to 12 inches from the eye. Now, I think every rental house here will know and recognize this monitor, the 1303 HDR. This has become a staple for all focus pullers on any high-end production. And this thing, it actually only clocks in at 170 ppi. But if you go around, look at reviews all over the place, people talk about how great the 1303 HDR was and how crisp and how sharp it was and how easy it was to pull focus. So we've decided to introduce the Cine 13, a much sharper 331 ppi, 4K resolution, 13-inch monitor. The big things we've improved about it are the portability. It's going to be much lighter weight than your 1303 HDR. It's 6.8 pounds, which is 25% lighter. And it's also 20% thinner. So it's going to be easy to bring around on set, which is what one of the main issues people had with the 13 HDR was that it was clunky and kind of hard to move around. Additionally, we've tried to make it more customizable, which is great for a rental environment with Arca rail on the back to slide your batteries onto, cheese sticks on 3 sides, and an included lower mounting rail. All in, when you buy a Cine 13, you get 17 quarter-20 mounting points and 12 3/8 mounting points, which is kind of unprecedented for a monitor. Future proof was important to us. So like I said, it's a 4K monitor. That means it's equipped with 4 12G SDI inputs and outputs. And as you guys already heard in this call, there's more and more cameras coming out with that 12G 4K output. And this is the kind of product you're going to need as these cameras become more and more popular. We've improved the image quality over the 1303 HDR, a 1300 to 1 contrast ratio, 1500 plus nits of brightness, sometimes even up to 16 or 1700 nits depending on the unit, and much increased uniformity. So one of the biggest issues with a 1303 HDR is if you're looking at a black screen, a no signal screen, you can see hot spots on a 1303 HDR. On the Cine 13, you basically can't even perceive any hot spots. You're gonna have a very uniform image, uniform color, just much more reliable product. You know, one of the people we sent out a demo to sent us an email. He said, finally a 13-inch monitor that I can trust the color on. Because everyone loved the 1303 HDR, but they never thought it was good enough to actually, you know, look at the color and care about the color because it wasn't accurate enough. Obviously, the Cine 13 is going to be great for specialty applications, and it's just basically the next generation of 13-inch monitoring is here. This is going to be probably the most popular focus puller monitor within the next 12 months. So, you know, you just want to keep it on your radar and get it while you can, because we get them and then we sell out. We get them and then we sell out. This product is very hot right now. And it's $46.99. And so I wanted to go quick in case Colin was sharing my 5 minutes. So Colin, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Perfect. Let me share my screen here. Let's see if I can find it. I don't know if I'm the last one here, but hopefully. Oh.
Colin only has 43 slides, so we should be fine.
40 sleep. No, that's the wrong one. So let me find the right one here. There it is. Okay. Still sharing the. Sorry, guys. I guess I can't have two keynotes open at the same time because it will share whichever one it wants to. So there we go. And sharing this. Okay, now we can see this, right?
Good.
We're good. Yeah, you're good.
Dave, awesome. Yeah, I'm another product manager here at Creative Solutions, and I'm going to talk about how Teradek has kind of, led our industry in wireless video, and I want to talk about some relatively new evolutions to our offerings. So first thing I want to do is take a small step back and talk about our entire Bolt 4K family of products. And this is an ecosystem that's built on a unified single custom silicon chip made by our in-house firm Amimond. And so what this means is that we have all our products are completely cross-compatible. And because it's on the same platform, we can update various features and distribute those features across all of our offerings. So in terms of the products that we have on the high end, the Bolt 4K, original Bolt 4K, that's 4K resolution across the UI and has a built-in LUT box. And then we have the Bolt 4K LT, which is 4K over HDMI, but is much physically smaller on the TX side, so it can fit in smaller rigs. And each family includes a variety of options based on wireless range. So we have the 750, the 1500, and the 4K Max. But you'll notice on the 4K LT side, there's something missing there, right? And so what we recently introduced was the Bolt 4K LT Max. And this is with 3,000 feet of range. So the Bolt 4K LT Max has all the same features as the entire Bolt 4K LT family. The cross compatibility, 256-bit encryption, higher frame rates, the Bolt Manager app, which allows you to seamlessly connect receiver and transmitter with the app via Bluetooth. So it's a lot easier process than some of our old Bolt products. And new to the Bolt LT Max family, or this specific product, is broadcast mode. And so broadcast mode allows the TX to connect to unlimited devices. And it also allows for up to 5,000 feet of range. And so that's why it's called the Max. A few other key features that I want to highlight are the fact that the Bolt LT Max has the same smaller TX unit, which helps decrease the size of the weight and complexity on any camera rig. So it's great for gimbals or handheld or various situations where you kind of need to keep the camera rig as small as possible. It also has an upgraded 3G SDI port for expanded image capacity. And it has support for 10-bit 420 video. And this is really important because as we move forward with HDR in our industry, we want to make sure that all these elements of HDR, so higher bit depth, new gamma, new color space, all these elements gets passed unaltered through the image pipeline. So I'll use an example here. A typical image pipeline kind of looks like this, where your footage is captured by the camera, transmitted wirelessly to an onset monitor, and then eventually find its way to a distribution channel. And so at the beginning of this process, you're capturing the maximum amount of information that the camera can put out in the highest quality. But as you move through your pipeline, you're inherently losing some information because of the array of devices that you have within this pipeline. And so that's kind of what this graph is showing here. And now your media cards on the camera are capturing full resolution, right? But you're not seeing that information until you get to the end of the pipeline. So while you're on set, you're dealing with this pinching of information. In other words, there's a discrepancy from what you're seeing on set to what you're seeing in post. And it's really our job to make sure that all this information is passed truthfully from camera to onset monitor and through the entire pipeline. And that's really what Teradek and Small HD are trying to provide, this truthful throughput of information, because I think consistent control of data allows for better creative control. So Bolt 4K LT, along with all the Bolt 4K products, we feel offer the best solution for HDR throughput. And to kind of recap Bolt 4K HDR, it's zero delay. So this is incredibly important to have a less than 0.01 millisecond latency for focus pullers. It's an absolute must. And I think in our industry, there's a little bit of a push to go to kind of a Wi-Fi solution that has more latency. And that's certainly important for remote viewing. But on set, you really need that zero delay latency latency. It's also up to 5,000 feet of wireless range, and it's cross-compatible with all of the other Bolt products that we offer. And finally, we found, it's really a time-tested return on investment, whether it's, rental houses using our products. I think Bolt 3000 has kind of been the industry standard, and I think Bolt 4K LT Max is really going to kind of compete with that, with those groups of people that need that extended range. And so this is kind of the platform that we can upgrade to, and then also be able to be in the same ecosystem as all of our other products. So Bolt 4K is $10,990 for the TX and RX set, and is available today. There's a variety of bundles, so we can go through those in the breakout sessions if you want. But that's our full lineup of Bolt 4K, the original Bolt 4K, the Bolt 4K LT, and then we also have the Bolt 4K monitor modules, which connect to our small HD monitors and sort of streamline the process there. So this is our full setup. If you have other questions, you can always email us at cineproducts@cs.inc. But I'll turn it back over to Greg and Gary and
thank you, sir.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.